Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. So we have got a little bit of an update on Ukraine from guys from sources on the ground, and I can guarantee you're not going to hear this anywhere else. And I'm going to run through the Ukraine thing really quick because it's only a short update, and I'm not sure where we go with that. And I'm going to talk more about this Devon water issue. And they're saying that the casualties, that the infections are going to continue to rise for the next 2 weeks. So before I start, guys, what I want to say is I have just had an absolute nightmare on the roads, and I honestly think most people, a good percentage of people, are absolutely stupid. So where we live, there's some roadworks down the road, and for some reason there's 2 sets of traffic lights. Now, I don't know what's happened with the traffic lights, whoever's wired them up or whatever, but they've done it wrong for some reason. So both sets of traffic lights are on red. So what people are doing is, on one way, they're just going because, there's like no roadworks, and there's just like probably a 3-foot gap where the traffic light is. There's no roadworks, just temporary traffic lights. I don't know why they're there. I've no idea. I can't make sense of it, but I can only imagine somebody's getting paid, so they've put traffic lights up. Anyway, I don't know. But basically what's happened is the sets of traffic lights are stuck on red. So as I'm driving towards Asda, it's fine because everybody's just going through the red light because they can see. It's ridiculous. But then on the other side, coming back, honestly, there must have been maybe 2 miles of traffic bumper to bumper, because the person at the front, they're not going. They must have been sat there a good, I don't know, I want to say 30 minutes or something. But at what point does that person at the front think, you know what? Maybe there's a problem here. I mean, is that person at the front of the traffic? Bear in mind, all the people now are queuing behind him. Or her, I didn't see. Or they. So you've got this massive queue of traffic now built up behind this one person at the front. And I guess this person behind him or her is equally to blame. And I guess as far back as can see what's happening. Now, and I started to think, right, okay, if we did have an absolute calamity in the UK, there'd be so many people who were just blinkered into doing exactly what they're told and don't think for themselves. Guys, we need to think objectively. We need to think outside the box. How long is that person going to sit there with those red lights? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? An hour? 2 days? Are they going to die of old age? What happens? At what point do they think, hey, do you know what? Something's wrong. Guys, honestly, I'm telling you, there's some absolute stupidity out there on, I was going to say on the ground. There's some absolute stupidity out there. Absolute nightmare. So I'm rushing. We've got a family barbecue tonight. We're lighting the charcoal at 5. Anyway, so I wanted to get there. I wanted to get some more charcoal. Wanted to get it back. It was an absolute nightmare. I thought, right, I'm not going on that road again. I'm going to have to go the long way. Anyway, I've got back. I'm going to give you guys a Ukraine update, which is going to be brief. And then I'm going to talk about this water situation and how I think this could be the unpeeling of everything. So, guys, if you watched I did a video on this on our other platform the other day where we had a map of all the regions that parasites have been found in this water. It's absolutely phenomenal. And again, when I started these channels, I said, guys, like maybe September time or something, I said, guys, water. Make sure you've got your own water security. Because guess what? Look what's happening in Devon. I think there's going to be more of these water companies that start to have problems. That's it. And I want to segue this into potential sabotage attacks. Now, I'll just do it now. We'll do Ukraine, we'll do water, and then we'll do how this could be sabotage. So basically, I had a short update from my friend in Ukraine. He said, Sean, there's a big buildup of troops north of Kharkiv, north of Sumy. Don't know whether they're going to make an incursion, but the fighting has really intensified over the last couple of hours. So, I don't know what's going to happen there. We could see an incursion from Sumy into Ukraine. The reality is we don't know. What I will say, though, is this reminds me of 2022 when the Russians amassed like 150,000 troops right on the border. They were building field hospitals. They were building tarmac roads. They were building, all sorts of stuff. And people were saying, oh, it's just an exercise. I was like, guys, no, that is not an exercise. That is, a pre-invasion. But then what the Russians will do, they will move their troops all around. And it's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say dodgeball, but it's kind of not. Rugby league. It's kind of like rugby league where you're marking your man and you've got to follow him. So the Ukrainians then will have to, wherever the Russian forces go, the Ukrainians will have to follow. And at some point, Russia's ridiculously vast. It's huge. It's got almost unlimited resources. At some point the Ukrainians may drop the ball. They may fail. And don't forget, the West's been sleepwalking into this for the last 3 months. The West, the Ukrainians may fail to go meet them because they may think, oh, they're just moving their troops around. And at that point, that's when we run the real danger. But as we are now, guys, the fighting in and around Kharkiv has really intensified. And there's a huge buildup of troops just north. So we could see that incursion in hours. We could see it in days. It may not happen. But the reality is things are happening. And there's going to be another big movement, any day, any week now. It's almost inevitable. And then what is NATO going to do? Namely, France and Lithuania, who've already pledged to send troops in. So that is kind of the update, guys. If I get anything else on that, I'll do a quick video. So the water situation, guys, let me just read this headline. Devon water crisis live. MP brands Southwest Water contemptible and incompetent as parasite infections rise. And then I've got another one here, guys. Hang on. There. Cases of waterborne diseases in Devon likely to increase for up to 2 weeks. Remember, guys, when they said it was just going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Remember when, this number 2 weeks? So Devon Water, they're saying that infections are going to rise for the next 2 weeks. Guys, this is not acceptable. People on mainstream media now are saying we shouldn't have to pay this bill. And that's right. You shouldn't have to pay this bill. But the reality is it's legal now to pay this bill. And what Devon Water will say is, well, if you don't pay the bill, we can't fix it. I tell you what, right? How about you don't pay your shareholders? Have you thought of that? Remember, I did a video a couple of days ago, or maybe, I don't know. And I said, I think only 82% of the owners of English water companies can be traced. What? So that means that there's 18% of the water companies, we don't know who owns them. And I can guarantee you that it'll be part of that 18% who will be found to be liable for this. They'll be found to be, whatever, guilty. We won't be able to find him. It'll be a shell company, yada, yada, yada. Nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's going to happen about this because of the problem. Now, the problem is the way it's set up. And, earlier on I did a video about, how we need to stop paying people if they're not providing us with a service. And honestly, from the whole people in the whole world, the only person I realistically think understands this, is Donald Trump, because he comes from business and he understands that if you don't pay people, they won't work. Equally, if you pay people well, they work well. It's kind of really simple. The system we've got at the moment with the water is we pay them regardless, and if we don't pay, we get CCJs, we get county court judgments, we get taken to court, taken to prison potentially. We get I don't think they can turn our water off. But guys, what is the solution to this water? Because I feel what's going to happen is these things are just going to escalate and escalate and escalate until we get to a stage where the government has to step in and say, do you know what? We're going to have to use taxpayers' money here to fix this. And guys, we shouldn't be having to fit this bill when there's been people profiting. Literally, this is the worst type of profit where they're not giving us a better service. They're not giving us a better product. They're literally giving us the minimum not even the minimum standard. They're literally making us drink poo and, and charging us for it. And if we don't pay, guess what? We get sent to prison. We get sent CCJs. We get all sorts of legal things come up to us. Guys, it's ridiculous. It's outrageous. I think this is going to escalate into a national crisis, because now what you'll have a load of journalists, well, if you can call them that, you'll have a lot of people looking into these water companies and seeing the problems. And once these things gather momentum, you know, things, it all comes out in the, you know, it'll all come out. But guys, I always say, make sure you've got your own water security, because there's nothing more, you know, there's nothing worse. I was in, when I used to work in Syria, I was coming across the, I don't know if you know the area. Syria, there's the Northern Corridor. It's to your that side, or that side for you guys. There's a place called Kobani and Membeach. That's where we had our offices. We used to do humanitarian aid. And when I was coming back, if there was trouble, I would have to stop off in a place called Amuda. Now, I was in Amuda for like 24 hours, and I had 2 liters of water, and I drank that in like 2-3 hours, and the psychological absolute terror, you know, of not knowing when I'm going to get more water. Guys, you don't need that. Especially, imagine your kids, mummy, daddy, I'm thirsty and there's nothing to drink. Imagine if another water company goes down now, guys. Imagine if Thames Water goes down, because they're in trouble. Imagine if any of these water companies, where are they going to get this bottled water from? Imagine if there's, another disaster, or a real disaster, where's this bottled water coming from? Because I can guarantee you we don't have it in storage. Which brings me on to my final point, guys. I can't remember if it was here or the other platform. Somebody said, dude, it's only some, burst pipe or something, and some poo's got into the water. Right, okay, that's fine. But what I'm talking about now with this sabotage is your military bases, your submarine bases, your F-35s, your submarines, all these things are, where you would, if you was watching a movie, you would, these are where the saboteurs would go in. They'd be wearing a tuxedo, they'd be doing some chopping and some all sorts of cool stuff. And that's absolutely great. They plant a device on or upload a USB card to a computer, and everything would be mood lighting, and then they'd do something, and or they'd plant an explosive device or whatever. Fine, all right. How likely is that mission to succeed? It's never going to happen. It doesn't happen. It's fake. What I'm saying is about these acts of sabotage. How difficult would it be for somebody to attack these soft targets? And the people who are attacking the soft targets, they wouldn't even know they're doing acts of sabotage. You could go to a criminal gang or somebody, or somebody who's potentially not got any money, and say, hey, here's a couple of £1,000, and you just lie to them. You say, my brother had this problem with this company. Can you go and break that pipe, that specific pipe right there? Okay. So he goes, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever. He breaks a pipe. That person doesn't know they're committing an act of sabotage for a foreign state. No, of course they don't. No reason why. Probably the handler who's paying him doesn't even know. And this is what I'm saying, guys, all right? These smaller acts of infrastructure failure, I feel as we move forward, this is a new sphere of warfare. I think the Iranians call it soft war, where they're in soft war with other countries where they've not got troops involved, they've not got any big jets or anything. They're just constantly harassing them with these little things time and time again. And it just puts stress on the infrastructure. Look at the water system at the moment. The bottled water, where's it coming from? Is it a bottled water ferry? Boom, we've got 1,000, not even 1,000. 1 million bottles of water? No, of course not. Where is this water coming from? If something else happens, where is that water coming from? If we have a hot summer this year, guys, we're going to see more water failures, and we're going to see fires. There's no end, it's inevitable. How many of those are going to be acts of sabotage? Guys, get your water situation sorted. Get yourself a filter, get yourself bottled water, and take it as your own responsibility, because at some point our taps are just not going to be able to turn on. That's it, guys. I'll keep you updated on the Ukraine situation. I've got a barbecue to have. If you want to see the barbecue, I'm going to be doing ribeye and chicken. I've got my new tongs, and we're going to be doing other videos on that on our other platforms. So give us a like and a thumbs up over there. I'll speak to you guys later.